today we are joined by Laura and Claire, who are both graduates for Nestlé. Thank you so much for joining us today, ladies.
Thanks for having
Thank you so much.
So Laura, I might start with you. Would you be able to tell us a bit about yourself? Did you study at school and university? And what is your role within the graduate program at Nestlé?
Yeah, for sure. So I just like lots of different subjects at school, but I was always good at maths and science, even though I probably enjoyed learning other things more. They were the subjects I was good at. And after uni, I took a gap year, and I intended after my gap year to go and study languages and international relations. But then I got to the end of my gap year and I was like, actually, that's not what I really want to do. That's not going to suit me. It's like a hobby kind of thing. And I was like thinking about it, maths and science are things I enjoyed, things that I was good at, things where like my brain just sort of clicked. And so I was like, why not do engineering? That's something that people always do if they're good at maths and science. And I got into that at university. I did engineering, majoring in mechanical and material science. And that program, after the first year, I knew that I'd made the right decision with that. It was very much about problem solving and trying to make things better and improve systems to make everyone's life easier and more efficient. And that was really quite fun. And it's a very team-based thing. I guess the stereotype of engineers is very much that we're shy and reclusive and have no social skills. But that's really not what engineering is about now. I don't think it's ever been really about that. It's very much about working in a team to solve a problem and make things better for everyone. And so I really enjoyed that aspect. And because of that, I ended up sticking with that program. And now I'm in the grad program at Nestlé straight out of university. And that role, it's a bit of a rotating thing, but I've had opportunities to work all across food manufacturing and all the different parts of that process. So I've worked in the safety department. I've worked on production improvement processes. So looking at how this process works, can we make it better? Can we make more product faster? Can we make it to a better quality? How do we go about doing that? And I've also worked in engineering to work on projects, to put in new equipment, to add new systems to make things easier for people. And now I'm working in maintenance. So looking at how do we keep the equipment running to its best condition, not just, blundering along, hitting and bumping into things. So yeah, that's been my experience in a nutshell, I suppose.
Wow, that sounds awesome. It sounds like it's a really vast graduate program in terms of what you get to actually do. So How did you know that graduate program was right for you at Nestlé? I'm sure after a degree at university in engineering, there'd be quite a few to choose from. What made Nestlé stand out to you?
Well, at the end of uni, I was looking at lots of grad programs in all different industries, like in defense and like their submarine and shipbuilding programs. Looking at things like mechanical engineers, there's a lot of mining industry. A lot of people end up in that kind of career path. I think what drew me most to Nestlé was their graduate program was a little bit different to many other graduate programs. The way that they sold it was something that appealed to me. It was very much about that rotating and that experience. It was never about, we're just going to dump you in this role and see how you go. It was always telling it as a thing where they give you opportunities to learn, opportunities to try different things. And it's very much invest in you as a person and like build you up so that then you can go on and actually be an asset to the business, I suppose. Because obviously that's their end goal. But it was very much, give you opportunities, exposed to lots of different things. And also the other part that really drew me to Nestlé at the time was that I have a big interest in sustainability. And they're like doing a bit of research on all the different companies I was thinking of applying to. They had some really good targets to reduce virgin plastic usage, to go to net carbon neutral emissions, as well as like other projects to reduce packaging overall. How can we have a more circular economy? And so that value that they had for the environment as well as for their product and for their people really drew me into them, because it's something that I care about. And with the option of mining as my other option, which isn't such a sustainable pathway, Nestlé seems somewhere where I could be doing good whilst also doing something that's important in making food.
Yeah, that sounds really awesome, especially the sustainability point of view. I think there's lots of students, like this next generation that are coming up, they're really focused on, choosing companies that share that sustainability purpose. And it's really awesome to hear about what Nestlé's getting up to in that space, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, Claire, what about yourself? What did you sort of study when you're at high school? What were you sort of thinking that you may do once you left high school? Is this sort of the path that you thought you'd be going down? And what's your role within the Nestlé graduate program at the moment?
So I went to high school here on the Sunshine Coast. I came upon my most favourite subject by accident, honestly. My favourite subject at high school was graphics. When I was in grade 8, everybody went through a rotation program and tried all of the electives over grade 8 and 9, and I absolutely fell in love with graphics. I also excelled in maths, so I did my Maths B and my Maths C during senior high school. I didn't graduate with the highest grades by any mean. I still had a social life in high school and things, and, I didn't lock myself into the books all the time. And so I actually found my way into engineering through a back door. Originally, I wanted to do architecture. I tried the grade 10 work experience at an architecture firm. I realised it wasn't quite for me. I wasn't as creative as architecture required. And my mum actually suggested that I tried engineering. So I started my engineering degree in mechanical engineering at the University of the Sunshine Coast. I did 2 years up here, and then thinking the grass was greener on the other side, I transferred to a larger uni down in Brisbane. When I got there, it took me a good 18 months, but I realised it wasn't working for me. I was really struggling just with the lack of community that I found down there. So I ended up admitting that I hadn't made the right decision, and I came back to USC for my last 2 years of my degree, which was the best decision I ever made. So since coming back to USC, I participated in a lot more extracurricular activities. I went to Laos for 2 weeks and volunteered over there. I went to the nuclear facility on a scholarship, and I did lots of different things like that, part of the club. So then I graduated uni, and I was applying, before I graduated uni, I was applying for all of these different jobs. I was mostly interested in a graduate program because I didn't feel ready to pick a job. I didn't feel like I knew exactly what was even out there to pick from. So I was hoping to get a graduate program. I was actually looking at Nestlé, also some materials research at the nuclear facility. I was also looking into things like hydro, electricity, and also, as Laura said, mining. That's always a really big option. So I was always, applying for all these different jobs and things, waiting to see who I'd hear back from. And anyway, I ended up getting contacted by the Nestlé graduate program, which was the best thing. And I was absolutely chuffed when eventually, I got offered the job here. And so part of my job, I'm just finishing up my first year here in Gympie. I didn't actually expect to get an engineering job in Queensland, let alone back at home. So I've been absolutely loving being able to spend the year with my family in Queensland. It's been great. So a lot of my work this year has been in engineering. So one of my major projects, I've actually been able to design, my project from the base up and have my work installed into the factory, which as a uni student, it took me a lot of getting used to that. I was actually given the opportunity and the trust to use my degree and to use my skills to make a change in the factory that will be here for years. It's not just a temporary change. So that's been really exciting, working with so many different people on my project and making sure that, it's ready to go and that it's usable and it's got longevity. So that's been a real kick out of this year, is seeing my work come to life and actually be used in the factory.
So do you think that your experience in graphics at high school has helped you along the way? Would you say that the study that you did in high school has helped you, create as an engineer?
Absolutely. Well, without my experience in graphics, I probably wouldn't have even known that I liked that sort of an activity. You're drawing on the computer, it's a very mathematical way of creation. So, and I never would have expected it. I was one of 2 females in that class. So it was a very, male oriented, that's the same with my math courses and as well as my physics. It was very male dominated. So, in high school, you may not think that as a girl, why, am I allowed to do this? Should I be doing it? But, I had a teacher that was really supportive of everyone, and us girls. We weren't treated any differently, and we were also really supported and, fostered our creativity and our skills in that realm. And honestly, graphics isn't a prerequisite to engineering, but that's one thing that I refused to let go, and it really helped me during my degree. I had those skills with AutoCAD and all the different programs that you use during your degree, and I had that base knowledge of, the thinking and the problem solving and the forethought of these, kinds of problems that you encounter in your courses in uni.
And so, Laura, what sort of career opportunities have you learnt about throughout the graduate program at Nestlé?
Yeah, going into uni, I didn't really know what engineering looked like in the real world. I just knew that I enjoyed the kind of things that we're working on in uni. And so then I had, that was the same. So high school to uni, it was a bit of a, who knows, let's just give it a go. And that same process sort of applied when I went from uni to work. I remember when I actually got the call saying, you've got the job, we want to hire you as a Nestlé graduate. I had this image instantly blown to my head of me in the little overalls uniform in a factory environment, because I'd never actually quite considered what manufacturing was. And so going in, I really didn't know kind of what that role could consist of. But coming in, it's sort of become really clear that engineering is one of those things that the degree is valuable in any job that you could want to have. It suits if you want to work in quality assurance to validate that all of the processes and manufacturing ways of working are doing the right thing and they're not going to harm our customers or our consumers. There's elements of safety that engineering is really valuable for, because you have that mindset to think technically about how can you use a technical approach to improve the safety of our equipment and make sure that our people are working safely. There's that engineering aspect where there's improvement activities and making changes to the equipment that makes them better. There's also the engineering side of things where we're looking at our existing equipment and making sure that we're doing everything to replace parts so that it runs consistently and reliably, just like you'd replace the tires on your car or replace a pipe in your car. You need to be doing the same to our manufacturing equipment. And so there's engineering strategies that exist around that to make sure you're doing that work as frequently as necessary so that everything runs smoothly, but you're not replacing something every 2 weeks just because it's the safe way of doing it.
Yeah.
So engineering is a wide range of things. You can specialize down into really interesting pathways that you really like, such as packaging. You can know everything there is to know about plastic and make sure that you're making the best plastics for the best solution all the time. Or you can stay really broad and work more on a high level strategy, working out what needs to be done across a factory to make it run effectively. And so there's no limiting factors, especially at my age. I've yet to start specializing. There's so many options available to me that I didn't even know. And so now the next step for my career is to work out what I want to try next, because none of those things need to be the one choice I make that will last forever. Especially in the food industry, it's so broad. There's so many different types of foods you can make that use different ways of making them. And so there's lots of opportunities, there's lots of different things to try. And it's just choosing what to focus on next, which is exciting.
So exciting. And to be with an organization like Nestlé with so many different brands as well, like you were saying, there's so many different ways of making things, packagings and the sustainable focus on those, which is really cool. And it's also really interesting what you say about your preconceived idea about an engineer in the overalls. And, you know, it's not like that all of the time either, you know. So it's really important for you guys to be here today and talking to the high school students out there who are watching this about breaking those conceptions down before that they, you know, choose degrees and subjects. So it's really cool to know. And so Claire, what would you say support you've had access to since you started the graduate program at Nestlé?
So this year of the grad program, I guess we've had a bit of an odd year compared to what we would normally have. So on a normal year, all of us grads from all around Australia and New Zealand would have gone together a few times already for our start and mid-year training. So with the situation going on at the moment, we haven't been able to travel and get together in person. So I've actually only met one graduate face-to-face when I went on a trip down to New South Wales when that was an option. But I've had so much training with all of the grads that I feel like I know a lot of them. We've also been encouraged to reach out to each other. I've struck up quite a good friendship with one of the graduates down in Victoria, which is actually my next factory, which has been really helpful as well because we've been able to talk about, you know, what's to come. So the other graduates, they have been a massive help. Even past graduates, I've had contact with grads that have completed the program already. They've been a really great source of support as well. Within the factory, everyone has been absolutely amazing, whether it be my engineering manager, the factory manager, operators, people in other departments, fill and pack. I may not know people's names, and if I go and ask them for help, they will always either help me or point me to somebody that knows the answer. So even around the factory, they've known who I am, they've known I'm the grad, and they've really rallied around me to give me the best experience here possible. And then there's also, you know, the manager for technical production that works in Rhodes in our head office, and also the chief engineer. You know, even though I'm a graduate, I have that support available that I can make a meeting and talk to the chief engineer, and he has time for us and he makes that availability to, you know, make sure we reach out to him when we want to have a chat. So that's been really surprising, actually. Just the amount of people that rally behind us as graduates. They just want to see us succeed. And so everybody does everything they can to make sure we get what we need. If I, you know, feel like I do need something else, I just speak up, and, you know, they do everything they can to help me out. So it's been absolutely amazing, the support I've had this year. It's really made my experience next to none.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, it's so important. I think, you know, going into the real world, into a real job, and to have that support around you, it's definitely super important, that's for sure. So would you say that the graduate program at Nestlé is what you expected, and how so?
I would actually have to say it's not what I expected. So, you know, when you get the job, they say, oh, you know, it's going to be a great experience, which is what I expect. I expect it to be great. But being such a high caliber, you know, graduate program, how competitive it was to get this position, I expected it to be, you know, long hours, hard work, a really strict curriculum, not a lot of flexibility, long days, minimal holidays, things like that. That's the sort of thing I expected and prepared myself for, to work really, really hard to prove myself that I was worthy of, you know, this program. But instead what I've had is flexibility and support and grace a lot of the time. You know, I can take a day off, you know, when I need to, or, you know, I was encouraged to take a couple of weeks off at a time so I can have a break to rest and recharge. And it's really, really supportive. I also have the flexibility that I can choose what I want to do. I can go and talk to my manager tomorrow and say, I'd like to go on quality for a week. And next thing you know, I'll be in quality for a week. So I've really had that opportunity to pick and choose what I want to do and create my own program, which has been something that I absolutely did not expect, but it has been so amazing to have that opportunity.
Yeah, cool. And I'll ask the same question for you, Laura, and then we are done.
Sounds good. So I didn't really know what to expect coming into the grad program, and that's nothing on Nestlé. They gave me a very thorough overview of what I would be doing, but it just didn't really mean that much to me yet because I didn't quite understand what quality assurance meant and what a safety department did and what the difference was between like production and engineering. All of those words I could guess at, but who knew what they actually meant in reality? So coming in, I didn't really have any expectations, but having said that, I have really enjoyed the program, and as Claire was saying, the flexibility of it and the ability to ask questions and jump in and like go to different departments and understand how they do tasks and what sort of activities they do has been really good. It's never really been, oh, you're an engineer, you're in engineering. It's always been, you'd like to know more about this area. We'd love to explain it to you and tell you more and get you involved because it's something that maybe you'll be really good at, and that's going to be great for us if you're really interested and you're passionate about it. Then why not help you learn that, because that could be something that you become great in. And yeah, the support has been really good. The opportunities have been really good. There's been lots of opportunities to do trainings with like other people, as well as lots of opportunities to just go and talk to people with more experience so that they can give their perspective on the kind of work I'm doing. And in terms of that expectation of being in overall, I am mostly in overall type things. I don't think I've ever seen most people's hair because we're wearing hairnets to keep our food safe. So that sort of expectation of being in a factory and a manufacturing environment definitely got met, which was kind of exciting. But the actual type of work I was doing, I didn't know, but I'm really glad that I'm doing it because I really enjoy working with the full range of different people that are in a factory, from your operators to your factory manager who's responsible for everything. It's just been a really good experience.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, ladies. It was really great to hear about the Nestlé graduate program, and we appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.